While Caitlin is fantastic and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA, there are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced when it comes to that.
Here we go again. Why is Caitlin Clark popular?
Caitlin Clark is only popular because she is white. That is a narrative that is very popular among the morons. Major moron, Monica McNutt, how she has a job, I absolutely know, at ESPN.
The one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her.
Why her?
Well, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
You think anybody cares if Dejounte Carrington knocks Kennedy Carter on her ass? No. You think anybody cares if Angel Reese misses her next 6 layups, falls down, shows her ass, and claims sexism? No. We only care that Caitlin Clark is playing. We only care that Caitlin Clark is getting beat up. We only care that Caitlin Clark is hitting a deep three. We only care that Caitlin Clark is getting poked in the eye. Everybody else can poke everybody else in the eye. The reason we care because her game is something we have not seen.
Just when you thought the drama surrounding Caitlin Clark had reached its peak,
Prevailing narrative that has been created around this season's WNBA play is that it's the league versus Caitlin Clark, and that is just absolutely false. It is unfair to the women that have been there building this league to this moment so that Caitlin Clark's popularity could take it to the next level.
I don't expect the race baiting to stop. I don't expect the hate to stop, the jealousy to stop, the sexism to stop, the bigotry to stop, the stupidity to stop. Because the people that tell you that Caitlin Clark is only popular because she's a white girl are full of shit. You either don't pay attention or you're too dumb.
boom. The basketball world is rocked by a legal bombshell.
2 things. I think it has to show up in our storytelling, and it has to be encouraged by our families.
Yeah.
To me, right? And so covering the WNBA this past season, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, for all of the conversation that surrounded her, some which was fair and some which wasn't, the one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her. Little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games. But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. But I do think, same thing with folks that may have fallen in love with Angel Reese that she may or may not have agreed with everything they had to say either. We attach our fandom to these icons for all types of reasons.
Former black players have decided, hey, we're going to hate on Caitlin Clark constantly to elevate ourselves, but also trigger her fans so that they'll keep coming to games and rooting for her, and it's going to elevate the entire league.
In a stunning move, Caitlin Clark has reportedly filed a lawsuit against ESPN's Monica McNutt.
But she was a white girl from the middle of America.
It's impossible for the women on television, the racist, sexist, to give Caitlin Clark, quote, her flowers.
Accusing her of spreading racially charged falsehoods that went far beyond commentary. What started as an interview has now spiraled into a full-blown legal war.
Here's what Caitlin Clark said. Y'all come at me like this, I'm not doing any interviews with you. Y'all keep coming at it with these dumbasses, Monica McNutt. I'm done with you. I'm not doing interviews with you. We'll go play in the Unrivaled League, and let's see which league gets going. And then let's see where the hell we're at. Your dumbasses at ESPN want to get up there and be racist as hell towards me. I don't participate in racism. Next time I hear that bullshit, we ain't playing in a game that you're televised.
With reputations on the line and the future of sports media hanging in the balance.
Now, none of these women, Monica McNutt, they're either too arrogant or too stupid to understand that what they've said all along about Caitlin Clark is just simply wrong.
If it was because she was white, Sabrina Ionescu would have changed and brought the WNBA and turned it on its head. But she is not turning the W upside down on its head like Caitlin Clark is.
Whoever these people are, none of these women are going to come back and say, yeah, you know what? We might have been wrong about, well, she's a white girl and that's the reason she's so popular.
Why did Clark finally say enough is enough? What exactly is inside this lawsuit that has Monica McNutt in tears and ESPN scrambling for cover?
The women of the WNBA will continue their jealousy. They'll continue to hit, fight, knock Caitlin Clark on her ass, and Caitlin Clark's viewings will just go up, up, up.
The WNBA draft ticket prices have come out, and thanks to the Caitlin Clark effect, ticket prices have skyrocketed for the WNBA draft. In fact, they've doubled.
Hey, Fever fans, it's Caitlin Clark. I can't wait to get to Indianapolis. I know you guys are excited. I am too. Go Fever.
There's no way the WNBA could have draft and not have Caitlin Clark involved. Caitlin Caitlin Clark appearance, commentary, something that's going to have her in the venue in front of people. Even if it's just standing around, people are going to pay money to want to see that. Tell me once more how the Caitlin Clark effect isn't real.
This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about truth, race, and the cost of pushing a false narrative.
There's the two sides who think she is only popular and does have the notoriety and recognition that she does because she is white. There is the other side that says you guys are crazy, you're all jealous of her, and she is just talented.
If you believe that Caitlin Clark's greatness comes from talent, not skin color, then type CC 100% in the comments right now and let's show the world who really stands for excellence.
People aren't spending 3 hours of their time to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball because they're racially motivated.
It all began with what seemed like just another media segment. Monica McNutt, an ESPN analyst and regular voice covering women's basketball, sat down for an interview on the BBC to discuss Caitlin Clark's explosive rookie season.
There's just so much statistical data to prove why people are invested and interested and can't stop looking at Caitlin Clark. Like, she has broken a record for records. As a rookie, she has done things nobody else has done. Stats do not require race as a prerequisite. They just are what they are.
Tickets for Monday's upcoming WNBA draft have nearly doubled since last year. Attendees this year will pay $99 or more to sit in the lower tier. Last year when Clark was drafted.
But instead of celebrating the generational talent that was taking the WNBA by storm, McNutt dropped a line that would ignite a nationwide firestorm. She claimed Clark's popularity wasn't about skill, leadership, or highlight reel performances. It was because, in her words, she's a white girl from the middle of America.
But she was a white girl from the middle of America.
It's impossible for the women on television, the racist, sexist, to give Caitlin Clark, quote, her flowers.
7 words. That's all it took to turn a sports debate into a cultural war. Those words didn't just aim at Caitlin. They cast a shadow on every little girl wearing a Caitlin Clark jersey, every parent cheering from the stands, and every fan who believed they were witnessing something truly special on the court.
Caitlin Clark's game sells. Her attitude sells. She doesn't talk much. When she does, we pay attention. Has nothing to do with her being a white girl. It has to do with her game. It has to do with taking Iowa. Has to do with deep threes. Has to do with behind the back, no look passes. We're drawn to those type players. Black, white, green, or purple.
The message wasn't subtle. If you supported Caitlin Clark, you might be doing so not because of her game, but because of her race. What made this worse was the timing. Caitlin wasn't just having a decent rookie season. She was redefining what it meant to be a star in the WNBA. She was hitting logo threes, breaking assist records, and selling out arenas everywhere she played. She was a once-in-a-generation talent. And instead of celebrating that, McNutt and others in the media were trying to minimize it.
I'm going to need all the race baiters who explain Caitlin Clark's popularity simply because she's white to explain why 10 million more people watched her last year than Paige Beckers, also white, this year. And a lot of people, of course, said she had Angel Reese as the villain. 18.9 million, the most ever. The 18.5 million did not involve Angel Reese. It involved USC, South Carolina. Guess who's this year? Game involved. That was 10 million down from last year. South Carolina. 2 biggest names in college basketball this year. Actually, they were in this Final Four. They were in this championship game. And yet, the ratings tanked. The ratings were over 50% less.
Reduce it and racialize it. The public wasn't having it. Outrage exploded across social media. Critics accused McNutt of race baiting, injecting identity politics where none belonged. Independent commentators, sports journalists, and even former athletes came forward calling her out.
Why have all these fans come to see Caitlin? And all the little suburban white girls have hopped on board because Caitlin Clark, she resonates with them more so than the angry black lesbians who dominate the WNBA.
Why, they asked, is it okay to say young black girls idolize Angel Reese or Aja Wilson? But suddenly controversial when young white girls connect with Caitlin Clark. Why does representation only become a problem when it's not politically convenient? And here's the kicker. The numbers were undeniable. Caitlin Clark wasn't just popular, she was rewriting the rules of fan engagement in women's basketball. Viewership soared, merchandise flew off the shelves. The WNBA saw a 48% increase in attendance, the highest in 2 decades. And it wasn't because Clark looked like the fans. It was because she played like no one else. To many, Monica's comments didn't sound like analysis. They sounded like jealousy. And instead of uniting the league around a rising star, she helped divide it with a narrative built on bitterness and bias.
After the women's NCAA championship, viewership numbers were released where Clark and Iowa set a record for the 4 most watched games ever in the women's Final Four involved Iowa and Caitlin Clark. People are going to tell you that the reason Caitlin Clark was so popular in college was her rivalry with Angel Reese. But there is no Angel Reese. There was no Angel Reese. There was South Carolina. Angel Reese played at LSU.
It wasn't just a bad take. It was a direct shot at Caitlin's character, her fans, and her legacy. And for the first time, fans began to realize this wasn't just commentary, it was personal. For months, Caitlin Clark remained silent. She kept her focus on the game, let her numbers speak for themselves, and didn't engage with the noise. But behind the scenes, the weight of the narrative being pushed by Monica McNutt and others in the media was growing heavier by the day. Every racially charged accusation, every attempt to reduce her to a white girl from the Midwest, wasn't just undermining her. It was fueling a wave of hate that spilled over into arenas.
You stand up to bullies. You don't acquiesce. Because when you acquiesce or apologize, it will never stop. You stand up to bullies. You tell them go F themselves.
Interviews, and even the locker room. And then, Caitlin snapped. The moment came like a lightning bolt. In a fiery, off-the-record statement later shared by insiders, Clark made her position crystal clear. She was done with the double standards, done with being painted as the face of racial privilege, and done with the disrespect from media voices like Monica McNutt. "Y'all come at me like this," she reportedly said. "I'm not doing interviews with you. Your dumb asses at ESPN want to get up there and be racist as hell towards me? I don't participate in racism. Next time I hear that, we ain't playing in a game that you're televising." Boom. The gloves were off. And Caitlin Clark wasn't just speaking, she was preparing to act.
And Caitlin Clark does have a further 3-point range than even Steph Curry, and that is just kind of bonkers. Think about how popular Steph Curry is. Caitlin Clark shoots farther away on average than he does.
It all comes back to Caitlin Clark's popularity. I believe it is based on basketball more than anything else. Look at what went viral from the Letterman clip, her playing basketball.
Soon after, reports surfaced that Caitlin had filed a formal lawsuit against Monica McNutt for defamation, reputational damage, and inciting hostility through racially charged misrepresentation. According to court insiders, the lawsuit zeroes in on McNutt's persistent narrative that Clark's fame was rooted in race, not skill, and that she only resonated with fans because she was a white girl representing Middle America.
Caitlin Clark made the comments to Time magazine. Monica McNutt recently said on BBC, perhaps a big reason for Caitlin Clark's popularity is she's white and from the Midwest.
The Monica McNutt stuff, and specifically with this level of media, we're talking about with ESPN, their issue with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark represents Trump America, MAGA America. They see her and they say, this is someone that everybody who roots for probably voted for Donald Trump, and I hate Donald Trump, and I hate those red hats, and I hate everything that represents to me. Because to me, that represents racism.
The claim that this narrative not only hurt Clark's reputation, but directly contributed to a culture of resentment and violence aimed at her. And let's be honest, the signs were there. The elbows to the face, the flagrant fouls, the constant trash talk and unprovoked hostility on the court. All while Caitlin kept playing with grace, keeping her composure, and continuing to deliver. But the media wasn't giving her flowers. They were throwing thorns, and it started to look less like coincidence and more like cause and effect. The lawsuit argues exactly that Monica McNutt's racially charged rhetoric didn't just float in the media ether, it had real-world consequences.
You women of the WNBA will get past your racism, past your sexism, and see a woman that just freaking balls like we like to see people play basketball.
It lit a match in an already heated environment, and it made Caitlin Clark a target, not for what she did, but for who she was portrayed to be. And while Caitlin's move to take legal action may have shocked the media world, it was no surprise to her fans. Because when you're constantly hit with narratives that twist your success into a controversy, when every record you break is followed by a backhanded insult, and when little girls cheering for you are accused of unconscious racial bias,
And little girls said, hey, I can relate to Caitlin Clark. She's like us. She has a boyfriend. There's a lot of parents that feel real comfortable taking their kids to a game.
ESPN and claimed that Monica McDougal is an NBA analyst. Obviously, Monica never played in the NBA. Monica wasn't even good enough to play in the WNBA. Maybe that's why Monica seems to be jealous of Caitlin Clark.
there comes a point when silence is no longer strength. What's even more telling, Monica McNutt's reaction. According to ESPN insiders, she was reportedly in tears after being served with the lawsuit, visibly shaken and completely blindsided by the legal consequences of her words. Sources say she believes she was offering critical analysis, but Caitlin's legal team says otherwise, that what McNutt did was weaponize race to delegitimize a rising star, and now she's being forced to face the music. Let's also address the context here. McNutt isn't some outsider. She's a regular ESPN analyst, a voice many viewers trusted, but instead of uplifting the league's biggest breakthrough star, she chose to chip away at her from the inside. And now that narrative has collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions.
Two things. I think it has to show up in our storytelling, and it has to be encouraged by our families.
Yeah.
To me, right? And so covering the WNBA this past season, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, for all of the conversation that surrounded her, some which was fair and some which wasn't, the one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her. Little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games. But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. But I do think, same thing with folks that may have fallen in love with Angel Reese that she may or may not have agreed with everything they had to say either. We attach our fandom to these icons for all types of reasons.
Former black players have decided, hey, we're going to hate on Caitlin Clark constantly to elevate ourselves, but also trigger her fans so that they'll keep coming to games and rooting for her, and it's going to elevate the entire league.
Caitlin Clark is not a victim. She's a competitor. And when it came time to defend herself, she chose a battleground where truth matters, the courtroom. This lawsuit isn't about silencing critics. It's about setting a precedent that even in the age of clickbait and controversy, there are limits, that reputations built on hard work, sacrifice, and excellence deserve protection, and that no matter how big your platform is, you don't get to casually accuse someone of benefiting from white privilege without consequences, especially when that someone has outworked, outperformed, and outclassed everyone else on the court. And make no mistake, Caitlin Clark filing this lawsuit is a warning shot to every media figure who thought they could ride the anti-Clark wave for views. She's done being polite. She's done absorbing the hits. Now she's delivering her own, not with a three-pointer from the logo this time, but with legal firepower aimed straight at the heart of a media machine that tried to rewrite her story. Let's strip away the media noise, the race-baiting headlines, and the divisive takes, and look at the one thing that doesn't lie.
There's just so much statistical data to prove why people are invested and interested and can't stop looking at Caitlin Clark. Like, she has broken a record for records. As a rookie, she has done things nobody else has done. Stats do not require race as a prerequisite. They just are what they are.
Tickets for Monday's upcoming WNBA draft have nearly doubled since last year. Attendees this year will pay $99 or more to sit in the lower tier. Last year when Clark was drafted.
The numbers. Caitlin Clark's rise in basketball isn't because she's white, Midwestern, or marketable. It's because she's historic. We're talking about a player who didn't just make waves. She flipped the entire landscape of women's basketball on its head. Start with the college numbers. During her time at Iowa, Clark didn't just lead, She dominated. She broke NCAA scoring records, led the country in assists, points, and three-pointers, and consistently played at a level that made even casual fans stop and watch. She wasn't just the face of women's college basketball. She was its engine. Her games were must-see TV, and the nation followed her every move not because of how she looked, but because of how she played. And the proof? Viewership records. The 2024 NCAA Women's Tournament featuring Clark wasn't just popular. It destroyed previous benchmarks. The Iowa versus LSU game pulled in 18.9 million viewers, the highest-rated women's college basketball game in history. For context, that's more than the average viewership of the MLB World Series. Think about that. A college women's game outdrew a major league championship, all because of Clark's impact. And here's where the race narrative collapses. The year before, another white player, Paige Bueckers, played in the tournament. She's talented, she's well-known, but the ratings, they were nearly 10 million viewers fewer. If being a white girl was all it took to draw a crowd, Paige would have done it, but she didn't. Caitlin did. Why? Because she brings something different. Because her game, not her skin tone, is what people show up for. Then came the WNBA.
She shoots logo threes, passes the ball like Magic Johnson, scores a lot of points, leads the league in assists. She's a great, great player, and she plays and shoots and releases the ball like Steph Curry. So there's the attraction to the exciting style of play. Asia Wilson should be centered, and they should be celebrating her. And all the little white girls should want to be like Asia Wilson. Little black girls don't want to be like Asia Wilson.
Caitlin Clark entered the draft, and everything changed overnight. Ticket prices for the WNBA draft doubled from $50 to nearly $100. Not because of hype, because of demand. People wanted to see Caitlin Clark, not at a game, but just standing in the room. And once she hit the hardwood in the pros, the Caitlin Clark effect exploded. The WNBA reported its highest attendance in 20 years, with over 2.3 million fans coming to games. Year-over-year attendance jumped 48%. That's not a typo. That's nearly half the league's growth in a single year, driven by one rookie. TV ratings soared. Merchandise flew off shelves. She became the most Googled name in all of basketball, men's or women's. So here's the question. Is this what white privilege looks like? Or is this what generational excellence looks like? Let's talk stats. As a rookie, Caitlin Clark didn't ease into the WNBA. She came in like a cannonball. She's already dropping 30-point games, hitting logo range threes and leading in assists. She's moving the ball like Magic Johnson, shooting like Steph Curry, and dragging the Indiana Fever, a struggling franchise, into national relevance. She's doing it all under pressure, under scrutiny, and with the entire world watching.
She's different. She's a white girl from the middle of corn country.
They like Caitlin Clark because she's not a victim, because she doesn't seem to be angry. And so they find her relatable.
And somehow she keeps getting better. Yet Monica McNutt and others tried to minimize all of this. They tried to tell us her rise wasn't due to talent, but representation. That she was a symbol of whiteness, not greatness. That fans connected to her because of who she reminded them of, not what she could do. That narrative is not just offensive, it's factually wrong. Because here's what representation actually looks like. Kids of all races, boys and girls alike, standing in line for autographs. Black children wearing Caitlin Clark jerseys. Young girls crying tears of joy just to take a photo with her. Videos flooded social media showing Clark hugging, smiling, and connecting with fans from every walk of life. Not just white, not just suburban, but everyone. This wasn't racial exclusion. This was unity around excellence. Caitlin Clark didn't step onto the scene with an agenda. She didn't come into the WNBA waving a flag or asking for a movement.
Yet, instead of appreciating Clark for leading the WNBA out of the abyss and into the mainstream conversation, mean girls and race clowns met her with resistance. Because Caitlin Clark's white, that's why little girls have gravitated towards her. I think what she's saying is ridiculous, and to tie it to little girls, you're going as low as humanly possible at this point.
She came in with a ball, a relentless work ethic, and the kind of skill set that doesn't come around often. And instead of celebrating that, people like Monica McNutt attempted to shame it, reframe it, and reduce it. But the receipts say otherwise. TV executives know it, ticket sellers know it, sponsors know it, and most importantly, the fans know it. Caitlin Clark is not just another player. She is the spark that reignited interest in women's basketball at a time when many had written it off. And to downplay that with a cheap shot rooted in race isn't just ignorant, it's malicious. Let's be clear, Caitlin Clark doesn't need a race card. She's got stats, viewership, and impact on her side. And for anyone still clinging to the idea that she's only popular because she's white, take a look at the scoreboard. Look at the ratings, look at the revenue, and finally look at her game. Because at the end of the day, basketball doesn't care what color you are. It cares if you can shoot, pass, win, and lead. And Caitlin Clark does all of that, better than most ever will.
But she was a white girl from the middle of America.
WNBA's attendance had a record-breaking high in 20 years with a total of 2.3 million fans attending games. You know what the increase was from 2024 to 2023 in attendance? 48%. That's massive. That's the Caitlin Clark effect.
Phenomenon, yeah.
If Caitlin Clark gets injured, it's over with. Tom.
This wasn't just another controversy. This wasn't just about words said on a broadcast. This is about how far some people will go to tear down greatness when it doesn't fit their narrative. Caitlin Clark didn't come into the league demanding the spotlight. She earned it. She didn't ask for media drama. She created basketball magic.
Every single one of you WNBA players, you better pray that Caitlin Clark doesn't get injured, because she's keeping your league afloat.
Juju Watkins goes down with a devastating injury that might keep her out next season. God forbid. If the same thing happens to Caitlin Clark, the WNBA will not survive. You have one young woman carrying the entire league. And Monica McDougal and her pretend friends in the media, they are doing everything they can to piss off her fan base.
She didn't play the victim. She played the game. Better than anyone expected. And now when the hate grew too loud, the disrespect too personal, and the lies too damaging, she did what champions do. She stood up, she fought back, and she let the truth speak louder than the noise. This lawsuit against Monica McNutt isn't just a legal case, it's a statement. That enough is enough. That women's sports deserve better. That media accountability matters. And that no one, no matter how big their platform, has the right to twist the story of a young woman who's changing the game. So if you stand with Caitlin Clark, if you believe talent beats narrative, if you know her rise is built on skill, not skin, then type CC 100% in the comments right now. Let the world know that truth still matters, that hard work still counts, and that when you come for someone who's lifted an entire league on her back, you better be ready for what comes next. Because Caitlin Clark isn't backing down. Not from the media, not from the hate, not from the lies. She's just getting started.